like if you found the video valuable. Marrow Creek was the kind of town where everyone knew everyone, and where old legends clung like cobwebs. At the edge of the forest, beyond the creek's bend, stood an oak that towered over the rest. Its trunk was swollen and twisted, split by a jagged hollow wide enough for a person to slip through. Locals called it the hollow tree. Children whispered dares about crawling inside, but no one ever admitted to trying. Rumor said the tree wasn't empty at all, it was hungry. Daniel Reeve, 16 and restless, didn't believe in old ghost stories. That autumn, after a night of too much bravado around the bonfire, he finally said yes to the dare. His friends cheered, shoving flashlights into his hands, but none followed when he crossed the tree line. The hollow tree loomed in the moonlight. Its bark looked scorched, as though fire had once licked at its sides, yet the branches spread thick with leaves. The split in its trunk gaped like a mouth. Daniel crouched, sucked in a breath, and squeezed through. He expected to land on roots, maybe damp soil. Instead, he dropped several feet into darkness, landing hard on packed earth. His flashlight flickered, throwing nervous shadows across a chamber that stretched downward like a shaft. The smell was heavy, wet wood and something sour, like rotting meat. When his light steadied, Daniel froze. The walls of the hollow were covered in carvings. Faces, hundreds of them. Some crude, some finely etched, all staring out with hollowed sockets where eyes should have been. A shiver crawled his spine. He told himself it was graffiti, decades of bored kids with pocket knives. But as he watched, one of the faces deepened, its outline sharpening as though an unseen hand was pressing a blade into the wood. He swung his flashlight across the chamber. More carvings shifted, deepening, grinning wider. Then he saw it, at eye level, half finished, a face that looked disturbingly like his own. Not funny, he muttered, voice too loud in the chamber. He scrambled for the wall, trying to find handholds to climb out. The wood beneath his fingers was warm, almost pulsing. And then he heard it. Whispers, not one, but dozens. Hissing, overlapping, voices rising from the carved mouths. They murmured his name, dragging it out into something unrecognizable. Daniel clapped his hands over his ears, but the sound was inside his skull now, threading through his thoughts. The hollow vibrated. Above, the gap he'd slipped through groaned, creaking like timber under strain. His flashlight beam caught the opening, and he watched it seal. Bark thickened, curling inward until there was no trace of sky, no escape. Panic surged. He pounded the walls, screaming for his friends, but only the whispers answered. The carved faces writhed, lips stretching into grotesque smiles. Their sockets bled resin that dripped like tears. Something moved deeper in the hollow. A darker shadow in the dark, unfolding from the wall. It was tall, impossibly thin, its body etched with faces, torso, arms, even its fingers carved with screaming mouths. When it stepped forward, the chamber seemed to breathe with it. Daniel stumbled back, but there was nowhere to go. The thing leaned down, its head splitting into a cavernous grin. From within, a chorus of voices cried out, the missing children, the ones who dared the hollow tree before. Their screams layered over one another, and Daniel's flashlight finally died. In the dark, he felt splinters drive into his skin, wood knitting around his wrists, his ankles, his throat. The whispers turned to laughter as his body stiffened, his mouth locked open in a silent scream. Above, the tree stood still under the moonlight, its leaves rustling softly. To anyone passing, it looked no different than before, an ancient oak with a jagged split in its trunk. But inside, a new face had been added to the wall. Daniel's.